to another episode of United Lightworkers. And today we're joined by Carrie Marie. And Carrie Marie is a holistic health and wellness enthusiast with Building Upwards. She offers holistic wellness products and resources, as well as hosting her very own podcast called Holistic Mama Speaks, where she and her guests talk about all kinds of healing and wellness topics and techniques. She's a mom of three and a cat mom and enjoys hiking and spending time in nature. She also has a book coming out very soon, so keep an eye out for that as well. So today I want to welcome Carrie Marie. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. It's such a
Yeah,
pleasure to be on your show.
yeah. Thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to interview you. And I know we spoke before, and yeah, I just love your enthusiasm and what you're doing. So I want to share that with people.
Yeah.
And yeah, so my first question is, why is it that you do what you do? Like, where were you? What happened? Where were you surrounded by? What inspired you to really get into what you're doing today?
Oh my goodness. Well, very similar to your story from the time I was really young. I have enjoyed helping people, and I do, I've always loved helping people in different ways. But when I was pretty young, I was also very shy. So, but my mom worked in a church, and so I helped out in many ways through my church, setting up for church dinners or, helping out with different youth group events and whatever it may be. There was different ways that I could help throughout the church. So that was kind of my outlet of helping people back in the day. And then, years later, of course, I became a mother, as you mentioned. I have three beautiful children who are getting way too old, way too quick. And you're a parent yourself, you probably know that, being a parent is obviously a pretty huge responsibility, but it also keeps you extremely busy. And so I found myself just, keeping busy caring for my family. And I, of course, also worked full time throughout my kids growing up. So, I was, between working, taking care of the household and, raising my children and being a wife too, and taking care of our pets and everything. I just kind of was going through the motions, just doing the do, running from here, there, and all over the place. My kids were involved in sports and clubs and activities and stuff. And we were still very involved in church. And so it was lots and lots of just running around that I completely forgot to take care of myself. I found that, I feel like I just woke up one day and I was like, whoa, I was overweight. I was in really bad health. I actually had, oh, and I have a cat that's joining me.
Nice. All over cute.
Uh, and I had some pretty major health issues that happened. I got really sick and I didn't know what it was. I was sick actually for over a year and back and forth to the doctor. They couldn't figure out what it was at first. And well, I think that she just didn't really know what she was doing, to tell you the truth, because I was asking for different ways of helping, like test my blood, send me for different types of testing. And it was all digestive. And turns out I had ulcerative colitis, and I was
Wow.
anemic because I had been bleeding from the inside out. And I had to go through other forms to figure this out because my own doctor never sent me for any testing for those things.
Terrible.
But from then I was told by the doctor that I saw, the GI specialist, that I was going to need to be on medication for the rest of my life. And that scared me. I think there's always a part of me, as much as I never was necessarily holistic, and I would take Advil for headaches, which I definitely do not now. But there was a part of me, I had my children all natural childbirths, because I didn't like the fact of taking something that might have an effect on my body, or that I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So with this, when I was being told I'm going to have to be on medication for the rest of my life, that took me back. I was like, but wait a minute, I thought this was a digestive issue. Can I just change the way I'm eating, maybe cut things out or add in some things, should I just be doing something? And he was just like, no, this is something that you can't heal on your own. And I just said, okay, thank you, and left. And I was just a little bit shocked, but also I got to thinking, I'm like, this can't be true. I don't believe this. And thank goodness I'm one to question, because I had already had the bad experience with my regular doctor of like, she obviously wasn't listening to me and not, not even sending me for the correct tests, let alone really dig down to find out what's going on with my body. So I was like, I don't really trust doctors personally. So this guy is telling me that I have to be on medication for the rest of my life. I don't feel comfortable doing that. So I started my research. How can I eat differently? How can I heal from this on my own? So I started drinking extra water, because I was like, okay, well, let's just flush things through as best as possible. I cut out as much processed food as I possibly could. I started adding in lots of extra fruits and vegetables, all the things that we're told to do, I think. But
Right.
didn't actually hit me. I didn't actually take action on any of these things until I found myself in this health predicament. And I'm like, I have to do something. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to spiral down this hole of being in really poor health. I literally was in pain all the time. And so I started eating. I didn't eat any more sugar. I started cutting way back on carbohydrates, basically anything that I could do to improve my digestive system. I was reading all kinds of articles about gut health. And I started taking CBD oil to reduce inflammation, and all of these things started working. And it, of course, wasn't immediate. I clearly had been in bad health for a really long time, and it had gotten to the point where this had happened to me. But I also felt a difference almost right away when I started cutting out these things that are very toxic for our bodies that we really should not be eating. Processed food has just so many awful ingredients in it that really should not be put into the human body. They're not
Right.
made for that.
How many people
Uh,
read the labels, right?
I
It's
know. I know. And nature is just so amazing. We have all these things in nature that we can eat that are so
right.
healthy and good for our body. So I started realizing that right away. And so once I started implementing these diet changes, started just being a little bit more health conscious, how I was moving my body and that kind of thing. And that was just the beginning. And then I did start working out a little bit more, just because I was like, I need to start taking care of my body. And I at that point, I had stopped having any symptoms at all from the ulcerative colitis. I wasn't having any symptoms at this point. So I was like, I'm going to be working out. And so I started going to a gym, and then my friend got me into kickboxing, and I started doing that, which was so fun. Oh my goodness. That was an all body workout. That's for sure.
Nice. Yeah.
And I continued on that path, and then started implementing as I continued to dive into, just natural holistic living. I started diving into different ways of just healing my body in other ways. And I started meditating, and I started taking additional supplements that had natural ingredients in it that worked with my own body to not only give me the nutrients that I was probably lacking, but also to allow them to absorb into my body quicker and to heal in different ways and reduce even more inflammation. And so I started doing all of these things and implementing them into my own life. And then I all of a sudden was like, wait a minute, why don't I start my own business and actually help other people? I already have the love of helping people. I've over the years, I've volunteered for just about everything, whether it be from my church to, the PTSO at the school to the scouts and everything else in between. And I'm like, so that was so fun. And I was able to be involved in my kids' life through all of that. But I'm like, I really want to make a difference in people's lives. Like, that's the way I want to help people. I want to see their faces and hear their stories about how they're feeling better, or how now all of a sudden they can do these things that they were never able to do before, or they haven't been able to do in years. That's the kind of way that I want to impact people's lives. So I decided to start my business, and with that includes, I have supplements that I offer, again, all natural. I stay far away from anything that's processed, highly processed, and that has harmful ingredients in it and things like that. and, that I also know where it comes from. I've been to the laboratory where everything is tested and tested over and over again
Right.
and put together. And so I take great pride in the things that I offer. And I know how much they've changed my life, and I know how much they've changed my customers' lives. And so then I wanted to take that even further because, I can't stop there,
Right.
as I'm going through my own healing journey and, my own wealth or health and wellness journey, including wealth. Um, I find all of these different things, and I just kept coming across all of these amazing people like yourself who offer all these different healing modalities. And I was like, more people need to know about this. And it's not very well known. And of course, the way that our society is that, they very much, and with our insurance, they very much push going to the doctor, listening to what your doctor says, what they
Right.
prescribe, all of the stuff. And it doesn't allow people to really think for themselves in their own body and take a really holistic approach, not just to put a band-aid on it and like, oh, this is just going to
Right.
help your symptoms that you're having right now. But no, let's start fully healing and taking responsibility for our own health and not necessarily, just taking whatever pill the
Right.
doctors
Absolutely.
prescribe.
I love, how you talked about it. Because a lot of people like, well, ulcerative colitis, they're thinking like the doctor said you're uncurable and you got to take medication for life, right? And that's just the natural state for those people that maybe, well, that unbelieve that that's impossible. I always relate to like when you cut your skin, what happens? You heal.
Yeah.
So if you can heal a simple cut, why can't you heal inside stuff, or whatever's going on? You have to have that ability because you can slash your skin really bad and still heal from it. May not
Yeah.
heal properly, but you're going to heal. And so I
Mhm.
say the same thing has to happen on the insides. And, like you said, like a lot of times you give a pill, they're given by a pill by a doctor. That's only helping for A, but the
Mhm.
body doesn't work and just like fix A. The body is directly connected to B, and A is connected to Z, and B is connected to C and D and E and F and G. So just
Mm.
because you're getting fixed for A doesn't mean it's not affecting D, E, G, Z, which has now come back. So I
Yeah.
agree. But I love how you talked about taking medication or supplements, sorry, that absorb into the body. And that's what happens. We don't, a lot of stuff we take isn't absorbed fully
Mhm.
or naturally into the body. And
Yeah.
yeah, I
And a
love.
lot of times our bodies are so toxic that it's not allowing things
Right.
to absorb into our body. So,
Good point.
detoxing is huge, and getting all of those ingredients out that we've been, eating for years or taking in or breathing in. Like
Right.
we breathe in toxins all the time. There isn't really a way of avoiding all toxins, because they're just surrounding us. We're out and about. We're in different places that use cleaning supplies. Even if we cut
Hmm.
out stuff from our own homes or from our own diets, there isn't a way of fully eliminating all toxins. So, being able to detox our bodies naturally is super important as well. And I found that, just with myself, being able to detox regularly also allows for then the body to start absorbing things
Right.
quicker and more fully. And, so I
So,
know probably a lot of people like just would take a regular vitamin. They're like, why can't I just take a vitamin from the store? But if you take a vitamin, any vitamin, you probably noticed that when you go to the bathroom, when you pee, it's fluorescent yellow. That's like a lot of the vitamins that are just coming out in your urine.
right.
It's literally your body's just pushing it right through your whole system, and they're not being absorbed. And so that's why I really, did a lot of research into what products I was going to use and trusted in my own body that would absorb. But also, what I'm offering to my clients, I want to make sure that it's actually working and that people are actually able to take in those things. And there's not just a one fixed thing. There's, and everybody has different stuff that's going on with their body. And so, that's a reason why I offer multiple types of supplements that help in different ways, whether it be gut health or anti-inflammatory things or whatever. But the other thing too that I was kind of hinting on before is that I'm now finding about all these other things and learning about all these other modalities that I wanted to get the word out. So I started my podcast. So,
Wonderful. Yeah.
so if, Holistic Mama Speaks is the name of the podcast. And I was honored to have you as a guest on my podcast. And so
That's
I am now
blessing. Yeah.
honored to be a guest on yours as well. And it's just so amazing talking to all of these people who not only have had natural healing in their own lives, but then have been able to help others naturally heal in so many different ways. And so I have just been I just love being on this journey and along with others, just being able to help them out. And I'm in the process of also getting a wellness certification so that I'm able to offer even more. I'm very much like, I know that when we spoke before, we talked about how, you just wanted to learn and learn and learn, and you're, just so inquisitive. And I'm so much like that, where I really feel like I need to keep learning more and more things to not only better myself, but then to better other people who I'm helping, whether it be my family or people who I'm caring for in different ways, or my clients, my
Love it.
customers. So it's just, so that's one of the things that I'm doing the certification process so that I can, better help other people. And I've written a book, has not been published yet. It's right now
Okay.
being proofread by some very special people in my life who are proofreading it for me and providing feedback. And then I will be publishing it very soon. So I will keep you
Awesome.
posted
That's
as to that.
exciting for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. So let's move on. I guess that was great. You kind of answered almost part question two that I had is about how help people, which is fine. So how do you help it? But so if someone were come to see you, what should they expect? Or obviously there's a couple of options for them. So what would you someone's coming to look for? Obviously maybe gut health. How would like what would they expect from you?
Yeah. So generally, people come to me for all different things, but let's just say we'll use your example, the gut health. So I talk to them about, some of what what they're doing currently, what they've done in the past, what's worked, what hasn't worked, that kind of thing. And most of the things that they've tried obviously haven't worked. And that's why they're searching for a
Right.
different alternative. And so I do have, some supplements that I, recommend to them, but then I also will recommend some other things, different things that they can do along the lines of eating, or I will recommend that they see somebody else, because some of the times some of the things that they have going on are much more than just what they're putting in their bodies. There's some
Sure.
underlying things. And I'm very, very thankful to have been doing this, my podcast, where I have now all of these resources to all of these amazing healers. And
Right.
so if I'm not personally able to help somebody, I love sending them over to some of my resources and just say, if these are the things you have going on, take a peek at this whole list of
Right.
amazing, amazing people. And so I'm kind of that point person for some things, but then, through just my own knowledge of what I've learned, I'm able to kind of just help people along with their journey, but it's always what they're willing to put into it. So sometimes not
Mm,
everybody is willing to make major shifts. So we just work on just tweaking things a little bit. So I'm kind of doing the coaching a little bit prior to actually being certified to coach, because I just like to give people that little extra. I don't
right.
want to just, here's a product, you're on your way, that kind of thing. Some people aren't interested in being helped in any other way. That's all they want, and so that's fine,
A certification is just a title because
Exactly.
to me the journey that you've been on is enough to say that you know it works because you're evidence of it, right? So
Yep.
to me that's why I look at things. A lot of times people want that piece of paper, but really, you know people it just tells you did school, but it's the journey, right? Even in university and chiropractic school that I went to, it's just I learned a lot, but so much more was, the journey, the process you went on in the chiropractic school, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, so what other things then you focus on? What other kind of like obviously gut health. What are the major
Yes.
things people seek for your?
So gut health is a huge one, and I focus a lot on that just because that's where I struggled. And
Yep.
so I can definitely help people a lot with that. But also, just aches and pains, joint pain, things like that. I've also healed myself from a couple different injuries. I had rotator cuff tears that I refused to have the surgery, and was able to also heal from that on my own. And so, I like to help people with those kinds of things as well. But even just overall energy, like as parents, I feel that, sometimes either we don't sleep well at night. So either the lack of sleep or just the fact that we're running in a million different directions, we just don't have any energy during the day. And so I do also help people with energy, with gaining energy, and also with better sleep, which then in turn also leads to more energy. Kind of circle.
And just from my own experience, so much, even just working on gut health helps so many things, from allergies to skin issues, so
Oh yeah.
it's not just like, oh, I got, UC or, some other digestive issue, diarrhea or constipation. It's tied to so many other issues, right? Because like you said, like your digestion is a way you're eliminating toxins, right? And I had a client one time, it's not my story, but it's funny because it relates, because, she only went to the bathroom once a week. I didn't know this. So she came in for back pain, and I'm treating her. I'm like, do you have constipation? Because all her points related to digestion. And she's like, no. And I kept going and working more digestive points, more digestive points. And I'm like, this is really odd for someone to have that many digestive points and have no constipation or diarrhea. And I'm like, you sure? She's like, nope, I go every Sunday at 7 p.m. Like, to the time. I'm like, well, that's constipation. Nope, I've been doing this my whole life.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, so your food on Monday sits in your belly till Sunday night? I'm like, I'm trying to put this into context of, like, that's not normal. Like, it'd be like laying, half-eaten sandwich on your hot stomach on a hot kitchen day, just leaving it on the counter for a week. I mean, how does that look at the end of the week? Or a banana. I mean, half-eaten banana. It's, and so it's, so I agree. I mean,
good. Gut health is so important on so many different aspects. A lot of people do think of it as just like the stomach issues, like maybe you have an upset stomach or something, or diarrhea, but also, other things revolving around that, like bloating or just not going to the bathroom regularly enough. I mean, we should be going to the bathroom. We should be going number 2, at least, once or twice a day, and if you're not, then that could be definitely constipation or something else going on. But, so gut health is so important, but it also does lead to so many things. Like, there are some people who just kind of go about in in a fog almost, like they're not, they can't focus on things. They're just kind of, their brains all over the place, and, they're kind of scatterbrained, and that has a lot to do with gut health. So you wouldn't think about it, but also, like skin issues, people who have like major breakouts a lot, or very sensitive to things, a lot of the time it's actually your gut health. And I realized too, I used to have major acne, like adult acne. It was awful. I would have it all over my back, my shoulders, my chest, my face. It was bad. Well, once I started turning my gut health around, look at that. All of my acne goes away. I mean, on a rare occasion, I do still have a breakout here or there. Usually it's due to stress, but so much is in our gut. And so that is definitely such a huge thing for me. And that's what I do focus on.
Right. Because if you're not getting rid of toxins, your digestion is one of the major ways. And if you're not, like you had said earlier, like if you're not detoxing, and if you know it or not, your body detoxes twice a year, spring and fall. And, whether that starts to shed skin, whether it starts to shed hair, a lot of times we get a cold in the spring and fall, and people think, oh, well, a lot of times that's part of the process of your body clearing up debris. And that's why you see it in the spring and fall. They say, oh, it's back to school. Well, there's a real reason. There's a natural immunity that's happening with that. So, we gain a little bit of weight in the winter, prepare for our body naturally will do things. So it's great. Back to our questions here. So when someone comes to see you, how long do they take to get results? I know it may vary, but how long do people see you maybe?
Definitely varies. And, so of course, most of it, and I think, like I mentioned before, it took me years to get into the poor health that I was in, of just kind of neglecting my body, not purposefully, of course, but it's just, I got busy with life and forgot to take care of myself. So a lot of times it doesn't it's not like a switch. You can't just turn on a switch and be better the next day. And I know that everybody wants like instant results for stuff, and it's not instant. I do have a lot of customers who see certain things. They can start to see and feel things in a quick amount of time, within days. Some people literally, they could take one of my CBD energy capsules, and literally that day they
Wow.
feel amazing. They are focused. They have energy. They, their anxiety starts going away. All of those kinds of things. And so that is kind of immediate results. But as far as when you're talking about long term, like fully, healing from things, like your gut is a huge one. Like
Right.
that, if that's in really, really bad shape, it could take months and months. And there's actually, I don't know off the top of my head because numbers never really stick into my head that well, but I know that there's been a lot of different studies revolving around gut health. And depending on the severity of how poor your gut health is, there's like these certain timeframes. Basically, it could take like 1 to 3 months for people who are in, pretty decent health to get their gut back on track and to get a good, microbiome happening. And then it could take even longer and longer. So there's like months and months, and it can go up to a year or two. And so I never want people to think that, okay, you're going to try out a product and just feel better. And especially too, if they're just going about still eating the junk that they always ate before, you're almost just counteracting things. It's okay to have a little splurge every once in a while, but unless you're kind of changing your your eating habits and some other things in your life. So that's why I always try to add in a little bit of education as well, and help them out based on their life. For instance, one person that I work with, she works overnight. And so her schedule is a lot different than most other moms, because she is, she's working overnight, then she has to stay up to help her son kind of get ready for the day. And then she sleeps during the day. And so it's not the same, she can't necessarily go by the same patterns that everybody else would go under.
Right.
So we work with that to give her a little bit better of some suggestions as to how she can just shift things a little bit. And,
Right.
and it could be just her environment of when she's sleeping, because it's harder to sleep during the day. It's light out, there's
Right.
commotion going on, that kind of
Right.
thing. So it's just a matter of like just making her room a little bit darker and cooler, putting putting up stuff on the doors and windows so that she can't hear sounds and everything like that. Taking the sleep capsules that I offer so she can sleep
100%.
well during the day, get
Right.
into a deeper sleep. And then that way, when she does wake up, she can feel fully rested and be awake when her son is getting home from school or, daycare.
And having that routine is really important too. So yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, daily routines are huge. And that's also a really big part of when you're trying to incorporate something new. A lot of the times, adding it in along with something you already do. For instance, like we all have certain things that we do every single morning, like get up, go to the bathroom, brush our teeth, whatever, those types of things. Like
Yeah.
there's things we just automatically do. And so if we're able to incorporate a good habit along with some of those things, whether it be, meditation or grounding or taking a supplement or, any of
Right.
these other things, like drinking a glass of water. That was a huge thing for me when I started, changing up my routine. I keep a big, huge thing of water, like this giant thing of water, which I think is like 40 ounces. I fill that up before I go to bed, and I have it on my bedside, and I drink a huge amount of it first thing in the morning before I do
Right.
anything else, just to get my body hydrated. And so there's just things like that, adding in those little extras along with the things that we already do during the day,
I love it.
maybe like if we have to pick up our kids at school while we're sitting there waiting in line, what's something that we can do to improve our
Right.
own health, well-being, whatever it is, that 5-10 minutes while we're waiting, those kinds of
I
things.
love that. And I love like the routine because you're sitting on the toilet every morning. That's perfect time to do a five because I'm like, I can't even find 5 minutes to meditate. Well, you sit on the toilet for at least 5 minutes. There's a 5 minute meditation right there instead of,
Yep.
Wasting time, social media, whatever you're doing on the toilet. There's your
Right.
5 minutes in the morning where you can meditate. Just sit there with your eyes closed and do your job at the same time. I mean,
Yep.
it's a great time.
And that's a huge thing. Like you just mentioned about the social media. I don't, unless I'm pulling up a meditation that I have saved on my phone, I don't touch my phone for any kind of social media, checking emails, texts, anything like that. That doesn't happen for at least an hour or more after I wake up.
Well, that's awesome too. Yeah, there's so much research now into that too, how it affects you. Because there's in that morning time, there's mornings you're still very focused and you're still in that sleep where you can great to create in the morning. So that's why I would suggest doing things that are creation in the morning, because yeah, it's a great time. So the
Yeah,
manifesting
for
in the
sure.
morning, I love it. All right, so how do you differ from other therapies? Like, what separates you from you and working with you instead of somebody else that offers supplements? Yeah,
I know for sure that, well, I'm not just like a drugstore kind of thing, like you're
right.
not going to just pick up something from the shelf. I'm going to make suggestions based on, oh, hang on just a second. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
I
nice.
I will make suggestions based on what it is that people need. So somebody might come to me because it's like they need energy. But then as we get chatting, I find out that it's not all just energy that they're having issues with. It could be other things as well. Maybe it is their sleep, or maybe it is their gut health or something like that. So we work together to find a good solution for them. And I also, I know that supplements aren't cheap. It's something that isn't offered by under insurance, like we can't just get these things. But a lot of times if we can cut back some other things as far as other expenses, instead of having 5 or 10 different supplements that they got at the store, different vitamins and stuff that might not even be working for them, or they might just be peeing it out like we were talking.
Right.
They could replace those with things that are actually going to benefit their body and be absorbed into their
Right.
body and things like that and be healing it. So, if we're able to cut out different areas. So I work together with people like that. But then I also even offer a 4 payment plan where they can pay things, through 4 payments throughout the month rather than all at once to get their full months of supplements. So there's all different ways, but then the additional just kind of coaching along the way as far as different suggestions or recommendations. And even if I've even said to people, nobody has taken me up on this, but I have even told people that if they want to message me daily, they can do that to let me know how they're feeling, if what they've done for their own health. Not a single person has taken me up on it yet, even though
No.
I
Yeah.
offered it. But it's one of those things, like I'm available. Like if people
Yeah.
need my help, I'm here. And if you just need an accountability buddy, like, hey, remind me to be drinking my water, or see if I've made good healthy choices with my eating today, or I took my supplements today. If you want to message me every day and tell me what you've eaten for the day and that you've taken your supplements, you've done your meditation, awesome. That kind of thing. So I think that's a little bit different than most people who just offer supplements. I
I
really
agree. I mean,
care about them, and I want to impact their lives and make them feel better.
right. I mean, and you may not say this, but I agree with, I'll speak for you in some ways because I've talked to a lot of, being in the industry, especially as soon as they say I'm in healthcare, a chiropractor or was a chiropractor, everybody's got a supplement and they're ready to push them down my throat. And, I just love the way you talk to the people and you find out exactly what they need because you're right. Like, uh, I've seen people that they've been to somebody and that person read something in an article like, oh, it's good for this, you need to take it. Why? Because they can sell it on the shelves. And that's just not the type of person you are. You're going to get and talk to the person and find out what they really truly need and work with that person. And that's really, to me, you may say that, but that's what I felt, in our conversations, it separates you from others because I've talked to many, many, many of them. So
Mhm.
yeah. So let's move on. So I had to share that for the audience myself, just because you may not do it yourself. But yeah, I mean, I love how you work with the people instead of easily just to make money. You get them like, oh, get them on all these other supplements that may not help, and
Yeah.
I see that all the time as well. Where oh, I read it in a magazine that it helps for this, I'm taking it. Well,
Yeah.
I've never in my history of like I test some supplements on people too. I'm like, I, in all my years, that's never tested positive on people. Just like, you know, candies never test positive on people. Gum or, you know, hot dogs has never tested positive on people. I've never tried organic ones yet, but no hot dog has ever tested as something that's good for the body. So, so I love your, like how you,
Darn, I gotta stop selling hot dogs.
although there's no, I mean, I bought them. There's new organic ones that I've tried, because it's good on a, barbecue. Anyways, what would you say would be your greatest success story with a client? And what did you learn, if anything, from them?
Well, I don't know about a specific, like one particular one, because I just love hearing stories from everybody, like even if it's just something little, something is like, I just had the best sleep I've ever had last night. That was amazing. Like that kind of thing. Or just the fact that I now have enough energy to keep up with my granddaughter during the day because I watch her while her mom's at work. That kind of thing. It's like those are the things that I love. It warms my heart. And so it could be something little, or a friend of mine who is actually one of my first customers ever.
Okay.
She gave it to her significant other. She gave one of my supplements to her significant other who had really bad knee problems, and he would get home from work and just literally sit there on the couch because his knees hurt so bad at the end of the day
Wow.
after working. And so he started taking one of my supplements to reduce the inflammation. And she was so excited when they could go for a walk together after he got home from work. She was like, so, and of course she's also using some of them too, but that was such a huge thing for her that like, that literally changed their relationship even,
Yeah.
okay, yes, like the inflammation reduced around his knees enough where he wasn't in as
Wow.
much pain, but then that's also leading to the fact that now he can go for a walk with his wife after work. It's just those little things that make me so happy. And so I mean, I could go on and on with so many different ones, as far as like people just feel
Yeah.
better, and some of it is just very subtle,
Right.
and they don't even realize it right away until all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I just realized that I've been going to the gym now for weeks and haven't been in pain after I leave. And just all those little different things. So I don't have like one set. This is a great
Right.
story. They're all great.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Because I love it. What about the opposite? So what would be like, I never look at failures as something bad. What kind of like a challenge that you kind of faced, like with maybe a client or something that really, you really learned something from, and what did you learn?
Yeah. So I actually, something that I think that is probably pretty common when you offer supplements is that there are a lot of people who do think that it's instant and that they're going to just feel better immediately. And never ever portray anything as that. But I think that some people just almost expect it or want that at least. And so I think in the very beginning, especially, it was a learning curve for me. And that's why I started offering a little bit more education around things and digging in to find out a little bit more about what people are currently doing in their life, how they can just kind of shift things up a little bit differently to get better use of the supplements and to see better results, or also just, their expectations of this might take a bit.
Yeah.
And so that was definitely a huge learning curve for me,
Wow.
and especially in the beginning. And I have definitely shifted the way that I work with people based on those initial things, because it was brand new. Like all I knew was how it was affecting me and my body and how I was feeling better. But I didn't necessarily know how to deal with other people as much,
Right.
it's one of those things that I had to learn. And there were some people that weren't very happy at first because they didn't see or feel results within, of their first month of trying something out. And of course, there's a money back guarantee, by the way. So,
Awesome.
and which is good. You have 30 whole days to try something out and make sure that it does work and you like it. But also, I also like to tell people, give it at least 90 days. I mean, your body does some pretty incredible things. But also look at the whole aspect of everything that you have going on in your life. Are there other, it doesn't necessarily mean the toxins that you're eating. You know what I mean? There could be toxic relationships going on that's causing other things. There's a lot of other stuff that's going on in people's lives. And so now I think I just take a little bit more of a holistic approach to it, where we just chat about a lot of different things, and
Right.
that kind of gets to the bottom. I can't necessarily specifically help them with everything they have going on, whether it be emotional or mental type things, but at least I can provide them with some resources, or at least provide them with some better expectations as far as, okay, you can take these supplements that will help with some things, and it will definitely be improving your gut health, or whatever it may be, reducing your inflammation, but you also should possibly looking into some other things because you have more going on than just, you
Yeah,
know.
it's I don't know where that mentality is. I know such a quick fix of everything, but
Mhm.
you can't go and, when was the last time, the medication your doctor told you to take a blood pressure medication for a week, or cholesterol medication? It's like, here you go. This is it. When do I get off? When you die. Like, it's like, that's the mentality we have to, train people to think like, look, this is a lifestyle shift. You have to look at like, you know, it's a total different way of, of dealing with it.
Yep.
Um, the unfortunate part is that you do have to pay for it, right? Hopefully that changes. Obviously, there's going to be, as more people want it, demand will shift,
Yep.
right? And
Yeah.
you've seen that in Europe. So, it's just getting more people seeing the benefits of something else that's more natural. So
Yeah. I agree.
awesome.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So obviously you talked about your book, but what are you currently working on in your industry that is most exciting and inspiring to you?
Oh my goodness. Well, as I probably mentioned, I'm always working on my own personal development. I'm always taking courses and, attending events, reading books, everything to just learn more information, because the more I learn, the more I can share with other people. And there's so much right now that's going on for research in like the benefits of meditation, and really the scientific backing of things. So I've been reading a lot about that, and kind of diving a little bit more personally as far as my own meditation practice, but also just information that I'm sharing, and that kind of thing. So that's something that I would eventually like to start incorporating into my own business. Right now, I recommend that people meditate. I
Yeah.
recommend, books and meditations to people that have been helpful to me, but I also, I would like to start implementing that into how I'm helping people, specifically walking them through things, because I feel like it's so huge. But there's so many things that are just changing in the world as we find out about different things. And so, anytime I hear about anything new that could be helpful to people, I want
Mm,
to let people know about it. So it'll
awesome.
be on my podcast or
And
in something
I
I'm
love
off.
that. All right. And what is that book about you're talking about? What would someone learn? You never really mentioned. You just mentioned
So
it.
I did not mention it because I haven't actually publicly shared the title of the book yet, but it's
You
it's
don't
far
have
enough
to.
along where it's actually finalized that I can share. The title is called Mom Mantras. So it's specifically for moms or motherly figures, anybody who is, motherly to either pets or other people in their lives. And so the whole thing is revolving. They're basically daily affirmations, but there's a bit about kind of how to use these affirmations in a way that will allow them to sink in a little bit more, and so that they're actually going to be beneficial, because anybody can just read through a list of affirmations, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing anything. So that's
Ah,
what the book is about. So I
I love
can't
it.
wait to
Yeah,
have it
it's
released in the
exciting.
very near future, so that everybody can start using those and implementing them into their daily lives, because that was a huge personal development piece for me.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So if you were to go back in time before you got into business and start over, like what are three big things you've learned? What are some three big things you've learned? Maybe not
So
just business, but your life in general. Like what are some three things in this journey that you went on? Whether it's business or your
definitely,
journey.
I would definitely say that a huge one is consistency and routine in both my personal life and in my business life. Just staying consistent with daily actions, And I would also say another huge one is just continuing to be open to learning new things. I don't always know the answers for everything. I'm always continuously learning, and I may have learned something incorrectly. And so always just being open to learning and being able to listen to others. And let's see, the third one is just, let's see, I don't know what the third one is.
No worries,
Those
no
are
worries.
my
That's good.
first two, is just,
Yeah,
being consistent, like a daily routine
I love
of
it.
some sort. Yeah.
Perfect. And our last one is like, how can we support you? Maybe your website, or, how do you want people to connect to you?
Yes. Well, so I have my podcast is actually the main way that I'm on social media, which is I'm sorry, I was gonna say mom mantras. It's not that. Holisticmamaspeaks.com. And so there's all different ways of contacting me on social media through there. And also you can learn about some of my products on there, but also building-upward.com. That is, right now, it's not a full website. It's basically just some informational links, because I'm in the process of building a new website. So maybe by the time you're hearing this, the website will be done.
Fantastic. I love it.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm under Carrie Marie Vaughn on pretty much all social media platforms. So you can search for my name as well.
And we'll leave all that as well for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It was a fantastic conversation. So
Thank you
thank you.
so much for
Yeah.
having me. It's been such an honor. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Awesome. Awesome.